talking about networking. For those of you who I haven't had the pleasure of meeting, I'm Dr. Geneva, certified executive and life coach, and I specialize in helping high achieving women leaders navigate life transitions and elevate their leadership impact. And so today's topic really is about how you can 10x your impact, and that is through networking. And I want you to know that when we talk about networking, I have a unique experience with networking. I was taught it very early in my career, got paid for it, and I've been practicing it for over 4 decades. So I started out in the United Way as a community planner. And a community planner, problem solver, working in the community, community development. And in order for us to do good work, we had to establish relationships with everyone in the private, the public, and the nonprofit sector. So, as an employee there and working to strengthen and build those relationships, we actually had a management by objective system that counted and focused on the networks that we established and the relationships we built. So that's what I meant when I said I was taught it very early in my career and got paid for it because it was part of my performance evaluation. That is, how many networks were established, in what sectors were they established, how well did we represent the agency, and most importantly, what were the kinds of meaningful connections and results for people in the community that were achieved. So that's why I want to tell you my experience is particularly unique because not only did I start it early in my career and had to practice it constantly and constantly, but I learned all the tricks and the tips and the strategies and made so many mistakes, but been doing it for years and years. And one of the things that I know for a fact is that when you have that network, when you build relationships, that really is a wonderful, terrific, dynamic tool in your toolbox for you to have, for you to be able to do that skill. And so when I work with clients, so many of them come to me and ask me, now, as I said, I specialize in working with high achieving women leaders, most of them over 50 or in the midlife of their career. So, they got a lot of experience. Y'all got it out there. Yes, yes. And many of the women I work with come to me and they want help. They ask me, what can I do to stay relevant and competitive in my career? Now, whatever life stage you're at, that's probably a question that you might have. It's particularly important for women who are in their midlife, 40s, 50s, 60s, who are thinking about changing careers, wanting to pivot, have a high priority on their legacy or what they're going to leave, and who, as they are getting older, which of course, I believe is getting better. But as they're moving through their career, they want to stay relevant and competitive in their career because oftentimes, we've got a lot of these myths out there in the workplace about who we are as midlife women leaders and whether or not we still got it. Well, we do. So today, I want to teach you an approach, one of the approaches that I've used and fine tuned for years, but an approach to networking that will help you leverage your experience and gain a competitive edge and particularly advance your career at this stage of your life and career. So, these networking strategies for women leaders are important. And why I wanted to talk about this today is one, why is this important? This is a fresh approach to networking. This reinvent our networking. Now, I know if you a high achiever, seasoned leader, you've been out there. Your Rolodex, your is full. You know, you got so many contacts, so many connections. I got that. So it's really not about the quantity, but really as you move into this stage of your career, midlife, it really is about reinventing for quality. And and that's important because sometimes the traditional methods of how you got all those connections may not be as effective as you move through your career. And the other thing about seasoned women executives is that they have to navigate a lot of different obstacles in leadership and in the networking space, unique challenges such as ageism, limited access to networks, and sometimes, oftentimes, lack of reliable mentors. And so I think this focus on professional networking for female executives, especially for those of you who are in midlife, is critical. And that's the approach that I want to suggest to you that you can use. And and I'm going to talk about both networking and relationship building. Now, they are how you say it? Y'all help me. What is it? Different sides of the same coin. You know what it is. Okay. They are different, but they're on the same coin. So we'll talk about that networking and then relationship building. But the bottom line is when it's so important to focus on the relationship building because that is really what creates those meaningful, lasting connections rather than just expanding your contact list. That's what we ain't into that. Once you've been out there for a while, it ain't about that. And as we talk today, I want you also to consider and think about how this fits into your continued career advancement because you're in your midlife and you are moving into newer and bigger and greater chapters and still actively pursuing professional growth opportunities. Okay, so that's the stage set. So I wanted to set that stage in terms of the importance of network, say a particular have a particular conversation with those of you who are seasoned in your midlife so that I want you to understand that the networking that got you to where you are, that perhaps thinking about some other kinds of methods will help you elevate what you're going to do in midlife. And so that's what I want to talk to you about. So I thought, so let me just check the comments. How we doing? I'm so glad you're here. Yes, we're seeing that so many of you are weighing in. Yes, thank you, Dr. Pierre. One of your biggest challenges is turning those networking relations into business partnerships. Well, I'm definitely going to respond to that one, okay, because that's a good one. So I'll get to that. So we're going to I want you to put in your questions. The question of the day was, what's your biggest challenge with networking? Put those questions in, please. And then I'm going to go through about 15 minutes or so of teaching. Okay. And then I'm going to get to some questions. I love your questions. Thank you so much. So, what I thought I would do to make this what might seem to be a complex process, because networking is a process. And again, for those of you who've just joined, I shared the unique experience that I've had in over 4 decades of networking, practicing it, being taught it in my early career days as part of my job, and expanding it, growing it, making mistakes, learning, getting incredible results like raising lots, millions and millions of dollars, establishing relationships all over the world, etc. And that's why I want to share with you. I thought that perhaps the way to break it down was could be to use a metaphor of us taking a road trip. Yeah. So I want to show this networking roadmap for you. So the approach that I'm suggesting that you use is in 3 stages: to prepare yourself, get ready for networking, to engage. That's a phase in itself, a stage that you go through, and then sustain. So these 3 stages of prepare, engage, and sustain is the approach that I'd like you to consider as you elevate your networking and become much more of a master of it. And so we taking a road trip. And so with any road trip, what do you first do? You got to prepare, right? You got to pack your bags and get ready. Those first steps. And just as you set off, as you wouldn't set off on a road trip without knowing where you're going, packing your stuff, being clear with where you're going and what you're going to do, effective networking requires a plan. You got to have a plan. And to help you be certain about why you doing this and who are you trying to network with. And so this preparation phase is so important. And one of the things that I found is that many of us, in working with hundreds and hundreds of leaders, that many do not think or about networking, being intentional, or have a goal or set goals or a clear plan or the outcomes. They just go to this networking event, or I hope I see such and such, or maybe, I'd love to get to know. You need a plan, okay? Just as if you were going on a road trip, you would map out your route and figure out where you're going to go, your destinations, uh, who you're going to see, what kind of stops you're going to make. You plan it out. You need to identify your goals and the connections you want to make. Preparation is key. So, what are we talking about? This means begin with self-reflection. So, what is it? What's your why? Why are you doing this? What do you want to achieve? Know your strengths, update your profiles, be clear about your objectives. What's your intention? So, what are your goals? What are you hoping to achieve? Are you looking for mentors? Are you looking for potential clients? Are you looking for partners? Do you want to expand your influence in your current position? Figure that out, okay? The other prep step you need to do is to make sure you understand and you know what your skills are and what you bring to the table, what your experiences are, as well as your unique story. So many leaders can't talk about or don't talk about their story. Listen, your story not only is yours, it's unique and nobody else has it like you because you're unique. So you need to understand what your story is and how that aligns with your value and your business and your career and what it is that you want to do, and be able to articulate that story, okay? And also have it in a couple of different versions. So, like, the famous elevator pitch, though I'm not a big fan of that. That's a whole nother video we can do. But the point is, have a way you can tell your story in a minute or two, and then have a longer version that might be 4 or 5 minutes, and then maybe even longer. But the point is to practice various ways that you can tell your story, but to be prepared, you need to know your skills and your unique story. That's one of the packing essentials you need to take on this road trip that we're going on. And then once you know your destination, you understand your intention, you know what your goals are, your skills are, you got your story with you, then I want you to do some mapping. And you would do that on a road trip if you were going someplace, particularly someplace you didn't know where you was going, right? Network mapping is a strategic approach to you visualize and then you analyze your professional connections, and you actually map out who it is you want to meet, where do you need to go to meet them, what kinds of groups you need to join, what kinds of organizations you should be a part of. This network mapping is a heavy piece. It's very strategic. And it's one of the things I specialize in. If any of you are interested in working with me to help you map your network connections and build that sphere of influence, as I call it, just let me know, DM me, put in the comments, yes. Oh, put in the comments, map. Let's do that. MAP, M-A-P. And what I'll do is I'll send you my scheduling link and we can talk. But this network mapping is a very important step, and it's one of the first steps that I take with the leaders who come to me and ask me for help in elevating their networking and building relationships better. So it's critical, this phase, and I want you to make sure that you do it. And for other packing essentials, make sure your profile and your digital presence is cool and up to, that it's really great. And I'm not talking about just a polished profile, but particularly for those of you in midlife, you need to update whatever it is, your digital presence. You want to make sure that your current profile and presence, let's say you're on LinkedIn, does in fact reflect your current achievements and your future aspirations. Okay. So it's not about just looking good and having that great picture and all of that, because you want to do that too now. But the point is, you want to think about your future, where you want to go, what the kind of connections you'll make. And of course, you can do that because you've been very intentional. You've thought about your goals, your outcomes, you've mapped, you've done some networking. So when it comes to updating your profile or your presence, your digital presence, your online presence, that you'll be able to align that with wherever you see your future. Okay. So all of that aligns. And so I also want to make sure that you gather the resources. Again, you're preparing, you're taking that step. So you've got your resources, you've got your stories, you've got your success stories, the things you've done, your case studies, things that you can talk about with people that show how successful and how, just terrific you are. And you'll use those as essentials in your networking ventures, in that journey. And for any of you who want my guide on mastering smart talk, we don't talk about, for those of you who say, I don't like to do small talk, I don't either, but smart talk works in networking. If you're interested in getting my guide, it's free. I talked about it with Maria Malik last week when we talked about networking for introverts. And just put guide in the comments. Let me know. For my friends on TikTok, you could just click above, right below my profile is right there. But this guide is, again, I want you to gather all your essentials for your trip, for your networking events, because this guide is all about conversation starters, examples you can use, open-ended questions that you can use. You have this guide, you can walk into any networking event and be a star. Okay. All right. So we've got our packing essentials together. We're prepared. What's our next step? That first step is that journey. So what's our next step in the road trip? Let me put up the graphic so we can see where we are on this road trip. Okay. So the next step, the next phase of this approach is to do it, is to engage. Now, I want to say, when we talk about networking, and it's natural, oftentimes we think about just going to events or meetings. But I want you to know it could be hallway conversations. My generations talk about around the water cooler. Did they still say that? Water cooler conversations? Okay, that used to be the thing. You know, when you stop and to get a drink of water and you see another colleague or friend, you be chit chat, you have those conversations. Well, you're networking. You can be virtual networking, online, and it could be chance encounters. The other day, I ran into someone that I had known for quite a while who shared with me some work he was getting ready to do with a nonprofit. And as he was talking to me, he said, "You know what? You a nonprofit master. I need to talk to you." I said, "Absolutely." He said, "Yeah, maybe we'll get together." You know, there's obviously some business opportunity here. Networking. That had to do with that flip side that I talked about in terms of building relationships. So it was a chance encounter, but because the relationship had been built, the connection was made. Opportunity. And the one thing I want to say, and why I wanted to use this metaphor of a road trip. Now, we on this road trip, and wanted you to think about networking like that, is because it is a process. It's an adventure. It's like hitting the road. You know, hit the road, Jack. No, that ends up, and don't you come back no more, no more. Well, I ain't saying that, but you get the hit the road part, right? So it's an adventure. It's going to wind, it's going to turn. And you know, in the graphic you can see it's go, we go. See them little, can you see them little things there? It has detour, go signs. And I just wanted you to know that when you're on the road trip and you in this stage of engagement, actually doing it, it's an adventure. There's going to be lots of different things that are going to happen, lots of things that perhaps you didn't expect, but you're going to have an advantage because you've done the first stage. You're not just going into this like, you don't know what you're doing. Oh, I'm just here. I'm just online. I'm not sure what I'm doing at this meeting or this event or who. No, you're not going to say that, because see, you've done your planning. You've figured out your goals, your outcomes. You've packed your essentials and you've prepared for the trip. That's why this helps make the engagement process less anxiety ridden, more beneficial. You can enter it with more confidence because you have a sense of your intention. So when you're engaging in this phase, this second phase, this engagement phase, where you're actually doing the networking, reach out to your current contacts, your current people that you know. They're your best folk. They, you know, like and trust them, and they feel the same way about you if they're already uh, one of your contacts. Okay, you've already built a relationship. So do not um, neglect your current. And particularly if you're looking to pivot in your career or try something new, or even want to expand your influence where you are, reaching out to who you currently have relationships with is a good thing to do because you can bounce off of them your ideas, your thoughts, what you want to do, and you have that level of trust in working with them. So, one of the things, because if you are a seasoned executive, you've got a cadre. It might just be a handful, but that's okay because it's not the number, it's the quality. You got a handful of contacts that you can talk with, that you can rap with, that you can be vulnerable with. So that's the first thing I want you to do as you're thinking about reinventing your networking approach. Then obviously you want to go to your new contacts and reaching out. This could be on LinkedIn, industry events, or mutual connections. Somebody hooks you up with somebody else, tells you about. And so you want to embrace this journey, this new journey, and be ready to explore these new opportunities, not being afraid of the detours or the unexpected conversations. How y'all doing on TikTok over there? Hi. You don't want to be afraid of things that might happen that you weren't expecting, because those unexpected conversations can really lead to valuable connections. I can't tell you how many times I've been on a plane, and flying is not one of my favorite things to do, but I'll do it. But I've been on a plane and have engaged in a conversation with someone who's sitting next to me. And that conversation, when you get into what do you do, how do you do it, etc., you get a chance to really explain and talk about what you do. You get a chance to really actively listen to what they're into. I have really made some great connections that way, unexpected. And so that's why when you on this networking road trip and you come into these detours or the stop signs, that's okay. Just deal with it. Because again, it's those unexpected that can really make some valuable connections. And of course, through all this, you need to be genuine, curious, let your personality shine, listen well. And these tips, and while you're in this thing, will help you with your professional interactions. And I just want to make one other comment about quantity versus quality. Each stop, each point that you come to on your networking journey, on this road trip, really should be meaningful and purposeful, particularly for those of you who are in the midlife of your career, who are seasoned, who are experienced. Because for you, if you're over 50, it's about building deep, supported networks rather than expanding your contact list. You got it in terms of the numbers already. Trust, even if you're moving or want to go into a new field. Let's say you've been in the corporate world and you want to start a business in a totally unrelated field than perhaps you've been doing. Perhaps you're a great cook, and so you want to start you want to start baking and selling your cookies and cakes and delicious things that you make, but you've been a corporate exec. You have connections on your contact list already that are there. People who, in the corporate world, for example, who know business, who've been in business, who know how to run business. You can leverage those experiences. So again, it's the quality of the relationships that you have. That's why starting out with those people you already know makes a real big difference. So I just wanted to say that. And then also remember that as you're going in your networking journey, midlifers, those of you, my sisters over 50, let me tell you, those virtual checkpoints matter today. So your online presence is important. And just as you wouldn't, go on a road trip without GPS. I know every time I go somewhere, I got to pull up the phone. Sometimes even if it's around town, I'm pulling up that phone GPS and letting them talk to me to tell me where to go. But just as you would use that your GPS to navigate a road trip, use your virtual tools to stay connected. Okay. And so this includes meetings, online networking events, social media engagement. So it's important for you to leverage social media for your professional networking. And when you started out in your career, that probably wasn't a thing. You didn't need to do that. I know I didn't. But now it's an absolute necessity. So put that as part of your package as you're on this road trip. All right. So now we still on. We've prepared. Excuse me. We've prepared. We've engaged. This third phase of your networking journey, your road trip, sustain what you've accomplished. Yeah, as I work with my clients, and for those of you who want to work with me, please, you can. I'd love to chat with you. Um, just let me know in the chat. This area of sustaining connections, following along with our road trip, maintaining our journey, making sure we refresh and we're there, is one of the ones that gets overlooked too much. That's what I've seen. And so on our road trip, I've identified it as you got to have regular pit stops. Now, when you're on a road trip and you're going for miles and miles, you need to refresh, you need to refuel, you need to sustain your connections. It's just like making regular pit stops, okay? To do that, to make sure everything is running smoothly, that you're refreshed, you feel good. Too many leaders that I work with feel once you've made a connection, your job is pretty much done. Let me tell you, no, no, no. Once you've made a connection, the real deal is just beginning, because you've gone from this networking where you're reaching out, you're making the connections, to building a relationship. Okay. So remember we talked before, I said there are different things, different sides of the same coin. So I really find that the sustaining part of the journey is frankly the most important one and too often overlooked. But that's where you build your relationship, that continuous nurturing. So schedule those regular follow-ups, send messages to check in, share articles, invite people to your events that you're having, or arrange for, meetups, coffee chats, lunch. Show interest in people's progress, offer your assistance when you can. What are the four most powerful words that you can use to build a relationship? What are they? Can you put it in the chat if you know it? Put it in the chat if you know these four most powerful words. Okay, I'm looking. How can I help? How can I help? Powerful. that helps maintain this networking and relationship and giving attention to people. That's really what we're talking about, giving attention to someone else. And and again, you while the face-to-face interactions, you can't replace them. They are irreplaceable. But we also have the tool of maintaining our connections digitally as well. And in these days and times, that matters. So you can use platforms like LinkedIn to keep your network updated on your achievements and stay engaged with posts and updates and et cetera. So this continuous engagement, I think of it as an enhancement to the face-to-face interactions. And one other thing I want to say before we leave this part of our journey, and that's the sustaining part, is that it's so important to reflect on any of your connections that you've made or events that you've gone to. What worked? What happened? Did it work good for you? And also reflect on, well, what might be an opportunity that was just created by this connection I made. So taking the time to reflect and assess your networking strategies, what worked well as what could be improved, and what kind of leverage is possible from the connections I've made. I also like to focus attention on this aspect because it allows me to take a deep breath and figure out what I did, and particularly those things that I did well, and give me more confidence for the next step to go into the next networking event. So, those are the three phases that I want you to consider as an approach to networking so that you prepare for what it is you're going to do, that you know where you're going, what you're doing, what your intention is, and you thought a lot about yourself and what your skills are and what the unique things that you can bring to any interaction. How do you show up? You want to show up prepared. And then the meat of the thing is in the second stage, the second approach to networking. And that's doing it, hitting the road, actually engaging, interacting, listening, give and take. And so that's the key one. That's where you get to know a lot of people and get to know a lot about yourself. So you want to stay curious and listen. And then that third stage that we don't want to overlook. In fact, I invite you to consider upping that sustain stage, that sustain phase of this networking journey. That is it's often referred to as follow up. I think about it as a sustained activity because this is where you actually build relationships. So that concludes what I wanted to share with you today. Let's take a quick look, see if there are questions. How are you doing? My TikTok family. Thank you very much for joining, for being here. If there are any questions or comments. Oh, thank you. Miles says that this is a masterclass on networking. Thank you. And listen, if you want more help, let me know. Come and work with me. This is what I do. I live it. I breathe it. I love it. You can get on my calendar. There's a QR code up top. You can take the camera thing. You know how you do it. And or you can leave a message in the comments. You can DM me. Just say, Dr. Geneva, I want to work with you. Dr. Geneva, let's have a conversation. I'm there for you. Okay. We can do this. Yes. How can I help? powerful words. If you go to, now I want you to get my guide, because my guide gives you tons of things you can say, examples, uh, words, phrases, conversation starters when you're networking. Lots of that's in there. So you can get it, put guide. It's a free resource. I'm going to ask you for your email address so that you would get it. So that's what I'd ask for. And you'll get the guide immediately downloadable to you. Let me tell you that if you just had in your mind going to a networking event or at your job or meeting someone and said, how can I help? Huh, powerful, really powerful. Okay. I will. Okay, Miles, look forward to it. Oh, I see some of you want the guide. Great. Bernadette, see you. How are you, my sister? Love you. Oh, I'm so glad to see you. And everyone else, I just say hello. If I haven't, Sashin, thank you. Get the guide. We'll get it coming out to you. Um, I'm just looking there. There's LinkedIn users. I don't know your name, but thank you for being here. I so much appreciate um, you. And LinkedIn user says season for a reason. Ooh, I love it. Love it. Uh, all it takes is one person to change your life. Bernadette, now see, that's why Bernadette's one of my favorite people. She's been a member of this community almost since the beginning because she can drop them gems for you. That's right, one person. And that's what I also tell people who I work with. Let me have a conversation with you. I can help you change your life. Yeah. So please DM me if you'd like to work with me. Love you. I'm going to see you not next week because I'm on vacay. Okay, I'm on vacay. I really would love to come and see you and put something up, but I'm on vacation. So I will see you though on August the 7th. I will miss you. But I got to take that, the power of the pause. In fact, I'm talking to a group of uh, executives and leaders tomorrow night, and that's the subject, the power of the pause. If you want to hear more about that, I would love to talk about that. And I see, thank you for love the safe space. Oh, good. I am so happy that this has set a tone for you and for what you're going to do for the rest of the day and the week. Love you all. I will see you soon, not next week, but August the 7th. Be back with more. See ya. Have a good one.